Jeff Reh, the general counsel from Beretta, is with us in studio. Jeff, I would say, how are you? But considering today is the day that Maryland Governor Martin O'Malley has signed gun control into law in Maryland, I'm guessing you're not doing peachy exactly.
Cam, being here with you on your show is the high point of my day so far. Let's just put it that way. Yeah, I'm not the best of moods right now. The governor did this morning sign the legislation that further restricts gun ownership rights in Maryland, and I could say on behalf of all the Beretta employees and Beretta Group company employees in Maryland, we're pretty upset about that.
Well, absolutely, and I know we talked with Emily Miller of the Washington Times earlier today on the web program, and she quoted you as saying there were some provisions that you all were able to get in at the very last minute that turned it from a awful bill to a bad bill.
Right. Yeah, and we were, if it hadn't been for the support of Delegate Joe Valerio on the House side, that never would have happened. I've known Delegate Valerio for decades. We have a lot of employees who live in his jurisdiction. He's the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, and when the bill came through to him from the Senate side, he contacted us and said, what is there in this bill that's a problem for you? And I said, everything. The mental health provisions were not actually an issue. We didn't focus on that. But all the issues that related to gun ownership and the ability to purchase a gun at retail were atrocious. And so when he heard that, he opened up, he listened, he said, well, what can I do to help? And I said, well, can you gut all of the gun sections? He said, well, it's got the governor behind it. That's a bit tough. I probably can't make that happen. But he did take out a pen and started stroking through some parts of the bill that were problematic. So we got a few things taken out, but we didn't get what we wanted.
One of the things that we had talked about the last time you were here, the provision, if there's a paperwork violation for an FFL, right, for instance, the first penalty is a pretty hefty fine, but then the second penalty is like years in prison, right?
Yeah, that stayed in. They reduced the fine, but they reduced it to a maximum of 3 years. So that means if you're a gun dealer in Maryland and you have 2 paperwork errors, and maybe even in the same audit,
right,
you're at risk of a criminal prosecution. Now, they did add a provision that said that they had to be willful errors and that they had to be material. They had to be something that was significant. So we were able to get some language in to make it tougher to prosecute that type of crime, especially if it was just an erroneous mistake,
right?
Something that wasn't a big deal. But the penalty, I mean, to think about having to serve 3 years in prison for 2 paperwork errors, compared to, well, I don't know what's the penalty for crack cocaine possession in Maryland. It's for first possession. It's not even that.
Right.
So I mean, the sense of justice in this and the desire, it appears on the governor's part, to go after gun dealers, not just gun owners, is just shocking.
So what does this mean for Berettas Future in Maryland?
Well, we've got mixed feelings about this because we've been in Maryland for a long time. Our company's been there since the 70s. And more important than that, we've got hundreds of employees in Maryland who we care about. I mean, we care about their families. We've known them. I've known them for decades myself in many cases, certainly for many years. They're friends of ours, and the Berettas care about that. These people are friends of the Berettas at a personal level. So we don't want to do anything that hurts them. We also have contracts underway right now to provide our standard sidearm to the U.S. Armed Forces, and those have tight delivery schedules. We're not going to do anything that prohibits us from getting guns to our troops on time. But after that, we're going to be looking at things. I've already been in discussions with a couple of governors around the country. We are looking at other locations, not specifically at specific cities or anything yet, but we're evaluating other locations so that if we expand in the near future, which we plan to do, we certainly would be looking outside of Maryland to do that. And what the future holds beyond that, we'll just have to see.
All right, talking with Jeff Reh, General Counsel at Beretta, and outside of the impact on your company and the employees that work there, what do you think these new laws are going to mean for the average gun owner in the state of Maryland?
Well, the first thing it does is it confuses everybody because the statute is written as about, I think it was about 68 pages or something like that. I mean, it's a lot of different things that have changed. One thing that's changed now is that in order to buy a handgun, you have to go through safety training of a certain length, and you've got regulations pertaining to that, and you have to get fingerprinted before you can buy a handgun. So that's something that's new. So consumers are going to wonder, okay, how do I do this? The Maryland State Police now have the job of going through and writing the regulations to implement all of this in a relatively short period of time. And so it's going to be a muddled mess. The bill goes into effect, or the law now goes into effect on October 1st, so a lot of that's got to be ironed out pretty soon. But I pity people in Maryland. I'm an attorney. I've been an attorney in Maryland for over 25 years. I specialize in gun laws and gun legislation, and these things are confusing to me at times. So for the average person to try to sort this out is going to be a real problem.
Absolutely. And that's one of the reasons why I think the NRA has indicated that there will be litigation filed in the state of Maryland challenging these new laws.
That's what I understand, and we certainly want to, and by we I mean the Beretta Group, but also the organizations I work with, the National Shooting Sports Foundation, maybe SAMI, the Sporting Arms and Ammunition Manufacturers Institute. We'll look at these issues as well and see if there's something we can do to assist that effort.
All right. Well, listen, Jeff, in the meantime, appreciate you coming in this afternoon. And look forward to continuing this conversation and talking about the future of Beretta in Maryland and across the United States.
Thank you, Cam.